All right, folks, day 18? No, night 18. Okay, so let's see. So the plan is still on track. I'm still kind of coloring outside the lines. Got up well, start off, work is still in the way. Of course, everybody has a 9 to 5 job, and still have to build the truck. So, uh, got up early, went to bed late, which is fine, and got up this morning and decided to start cleaning the garage to recover it, get some stuff out of the way and thrown away. And I walked by the gas tank and saw all the stuff that was still prepped and decided to, go ahead and install all that stuff. And then one thing led to the next, and I ran all the fuel lines, got those installed, and then realized that I'd been, I don't know, 3, 4 videos already talking about the transmission mount, and I still have to get that in. So I forced myself to just go ahead and get that knocked out. I did have a little problem with the transmission mount, and again, it's probably just a combination of the welding of the frame and the bending of the bracket. So I had to modify the transmission bracket just a tiny little bit, and got it to go in. Ground off a little bit of the powder coat, and then bent a couple of the ears, ground some off the mount, and finally got it to go in. So it's in. The transmission is completely torqued in and secured, torqued, all that. So that one mount out of the 3, still have to do the engine mounts. Those have to go in, but that's completely in. Oh, and then I walked by the Ron Francis wiring harness box, and since we're trying to get to first start, I need fuel pump, which means I need wiring harness. And the rear harness is not that big a deal, so I went ahead and laid in the rear wiring harness, which was supposed to be like Saturday and Sunday work. So slowly, progressing. I think the detail work in the engine and the loom and getting that all set up is going to take a little more time than I thought I had in my head. So trying to get what I think is farther ahead, but I think this I'll finally end state will be the same on Sunday. But let me flip this around. And then, I'll just leave it like this. So here's the Ron Francis wiring harness in the rear. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit more. So it's just a technique, and everybody does this a little different. I'm about a 50-50 whether I use the Ron Francis wiring harness or I buy my own. In this case, we're doing truck 1 of the extended cab. So, so paying it forward, make sure that everything that's installed in the kit works just like it's supposed to. There's nothing going to be custom about the install other than the smoking engine in the front. So Ron Francis wiring harness in. This whole, it's got like 3 harnesses all together there. I will probably cut this back. I've got some more of this loom and just kind of make this all one loom, but the lengths are all good. And I just leave these loose. And you'll notice all these zip ties. So what I'll do is, until I get the final run all the way connected to the front, I'll leave everything zip tied so I can still move it around, take slack up, pull slack out, however it needs to go. So, especially like as I get as I go through the transmission tunnel and the exhaust and all of that, just in case if you need to move something out, drilling extra holes in the frame and that stuff. So those zip ties will all get cut off probably this weekend as I complete the harness. And then here's the fuel line arrangement. So again, using everything stock. I'll go this side. So then, we got the high pressure line is the plastic line, return line. They supply these really nice fittings now. And then stock fuel filter that comes with the kit. And then this nice arrangement and type deal for the fuel filter, and the same deal on, rotate around, on the return line. These still have to get tightened. They're still loose, so I'll tighten those, make sure that's out so I remember it's loose. And then again, I just, the book says to, install it along this frame rail, which I did. I'm not sure that the clamps are exactly, where the book says, but again, the book that I'm using, and I'm guessing it's probably the old book. I'm not sure exactly where the clamps are. I'm pretty sure that's not where they say to go. But again, you're not going to see any of that because the panel for the truck will be right in front. But basically, just try and keep it tight. And I mean, it's got a little play, so it can move as a truck flexes. And then I just ran it down the side, and it's nice line. I was going to buy some AN line and do myself, but man, this is good. And even with the stretch on the truck, you would think that, well, I don't know if you would think, but I was kind of expecting, oh, hold on, need some light, stand by. Okay, I was kind of expecting that I might be short 4 or 5 inches on the fuel pressure regulator, and I've got a gauge for that. But again, I'm just zip tying it right now, trying to see where it's telling me it needs to go rather than forcing it. And that way I'm only drilling, 2 holes once. And again, it may be in the way as I'm doing valve covers and stuff. So I'm not going to commit to a mounting point, but all to say, Factory 5 got it right with the lengths. So, the lines and everything are all the correct length up to the regulator. All bets are off after that because I'm changing from the stock fuel rails to these MMR billets. So what, if the arrangement from Factory 5 works, high five. If it doesn't, then I'll fix the arrangement after that. I did pick up, since I'm not running air conditioning, I did pick up these delete heater hose fittings, and they will go here, and basically the line just loops between these two. So just like the fuel rail, I don't know if you can see, just like this fuel rail loops from one side to the other, there's just going to be one line that goes from this heater hose or line fitting to this one, just completing the circuit. And then, let me get the other piece. They provide a tap and a bleed screw. Go over here again. And that removes the steam line fitting off of there, and then you basically bleed the system using the bleed screw right there. And you're basically removing the degas tank out of the equation, and then you just run a normal arrangement like you would on a 302 short block or anything, along that. So it'll get bled at the highest point, and then we'll be done. So that should, mainly I did that because I'm not running a heater and I wanted the engine to look clean. I'm not running AC either. So something to make the front of the engine look cleaner, so you're not looking at lines all over the valve covers. You can make that look good. Like in my Daytona, I've got it nice and tight along the fuel rails and everything, and I think it looks pretty decent. But I went through such trouble. Let me turn this around to really clean up, the motor, so you're not seeing any wiring hardly other than the injectors. And I'm actually thinking about pull in these injectors and when I do the fuel rail and turn them so the injector wire comes out the back. So really all you'll see are the 4 coil wires. So I went through all that trouble. I didn't want to see just a big, ugly, heater line go all the way around and then over. The other thing to think about when you do that on a Coyote motor is that there's a restrictor in the OEM hose that if you don't pull out of the other one, which is what I ended up using the OEM hose on my Coyote, you have to get different fittings for the stock lines or the stock ports on the head. So all that to say, I didn't want to sit there and have to figure all that stuff out. So I just, didn't let my fingers do the search on the web, and I ended up with that the arrangement. I think they're from, and I'm not sponsored or anything, Power by the Hour Performance. So yeah, you could check them out if you're not going to run air conditioning, like say in a Cobra, and you're not going to run air conditioning or heat. You could probably just run that bypass, and that will make life good. Trying to think. I think that's about everything I've done. Oh, all right, here you go. I did skip right over it. So I've got all the. Oh, sorry. I've got all the fittings. Sorry. Fuel pumps in. Everything's tight. Fuel sender. I went ahead and ohmed out the sender. So I can't remember how the calibration works on the Speed Hut, but like the auto meters, you'd need to know what the low and the high ohm readings were. So I went ahead and wrote those down. You're not going to see that. And I took a picture of it so I know what it is. And typically I'll write it somewhere on the side of the tank that you can see after the truck's all together. Yeah, I got the vent in, and I'm still waiting. I've got all the pieces for this, for the filler, minus the little metal piece that actually goes into the tank. That's on the way. So I'll just wait on that. So let's see. In review, we've got the emergency brake is loosely in. I've got the bracket for the cables. I still have to mount that. But I really want to. I need to work on the aluminum also in the cab and start thinking about getting that all riveted down. And then at the same time, I've got to get this harness done, which I need to take the intake off and get that all figured out. I've got the Ron Francis cockpit harness ready to go. What I may do, just talking it out as we're sitting here, is I may actually just install the fuse box and get that at least situated so I'm happy where that goes, and mount the fuse box. But I don't know, just as we're talking through this live, depending on where that ends up, it may get in the way as I'm doing the wire for the ECU and everything. So I'll probably stay with the original plan. I still think I need to get that mounted because I'd like to get the rear harness connected to the main harness, because then that will tell me that I'm clear of all of the components, rotating assemblies, any of that. And then I can just lock down the rear harness, which is important because I need the fuel pump to do the start. The other thing we haven't talked about is the battery, and I need to run that, the battery cables, cutoff switch, all of that. That's all going to get. I'm going to mount it all. Battery switch, cutoff, engine ignition switch. I'm going to mount it to this bracket right here, so you'll reach under the dash to start it for the show. Nothing's going to be on the actual dash. Yeah. So anyway, about 15 minutes yammering on. It's probably around 8:30. Somebody asked real quick on the forum, like, how many hours a week am I working on the truck? So all told, um, I have every other Friday off, um, but I'm still kind of half working on those Fridays off. So that usually that Friday I'll get maybe 4 to 6 hours on the truck. Saturday and Sunday are really the main lift. I'll get at least 20 hours on the truck. So I've had 2 full weekends. So there's good 40 hours just, and that was all the body work fitment the first weekend, if you remember, running up to the first weekend. And then this last weekend was getting with the chassis, getting the front, the back, all that stuff on, and just chugging along. So, and then during the week, like for example, this morning I got up and I did about an hour on the truck, and I didn't touch it again till about 6, and I've basically worked on it for about an hour or two. So I'm gonna say 3 hours during the weeknights. Maybe an hour in the morning before going to shower or whatever, go to work, just laying stuff out, do a real small thing, even if it's just I started off today, I just put the fuel sender in, right? And that was it. But that's one less thing you have to worry about, right? So basically 3 hours, I'm going to say 2 to 3 hours a night during the week, and then a good 20-25 hours on Saturday and Sunday. And depending on the Friday, I might have an additional 6. So you can do the math. You say 15, so 15, 30, public math, right? 30, 35, 40 hours in a week. So basically a second job, right? So, but I'm doing it on the weekend. So it's just time management and commitment to the project at the sacrifice of, hanging out with the family, or, driving the Daytona and stuff like that. So there is a commitment thing. But for SEMA, we're all in, and we'll get this done. So, relax when you can. It's fun. I'm having a good time. Jim is great, to help make sure that he's keeping me fed with parts, because, the run up to SEMA is always a mess. I know there's a couple other SEMA Factory 5 builders out there. I feel for you. Anyway, tomorrow's a new day. It's Friday. It's a work Friday for me, so we're not going to get another 6 hours out of it. But I think I'll get a little bit done. I think it's a light work Friday, so I'm hoping to get 3 to 4 hours on it for sure tomorrow. I'd like to get some of the stuff that we just talked about done, at least prepped, so that Saturday morning we're just zooming along. So, all right. Stay tuned. Next couple days should be pretty interesting. Talk to you later.